We've recently discussed the 4 Titan brothers, who were personified as the 4 pillars of the earth because of the role they played during Uranus's castration. Today we take a look at the Titan Hyperion, who was regarded as the pillar of the east and the god of heavenly light. Hyperion was one of the first generation of Titans, born from Gaia and Uranus, and along with his wife Theia, who was commonly known as Lady of the Aether, the shining blue within the sky. They were both heavily associated with the heavens and the light source it provided the earth. Hyperion's name itself can be roughly translated to watcher from above, or he who goes from above, and he was thought to represent watchfulness, wisdom and light. It's quite a common sentiment in mythology as well as religion, that the gods watched us mortals from the heavens above. It's not much of a surprise that the children of Hyperion and Theia were also closely linked to the heavens and the sky. Helios, the titan of the sun, Selene, the titan goddess of the moon, and Eos, the titan goddess of dawn. Over the years there has been some ambiguity between Hyperion and his connection to the sun. When we think of a heavenly light source, it's natural for us to assume that that could only refer to the sun or the moon, and in some of the early texts, such as Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey, the sun was referred to as Helios Hyperion, almost implying that Hyperion could in fact be the sun. In the later texts of Hesiod's Theogony, the sun was referred to as Hyperionides, meaning the son of Hyperion. This could refer to the sun being a creation of Hyperion, or it could indeed refer to Helios. But what the Theogony does is separate the sun from Hyperion. They are described as 2 separate things, Hyperion being shown as his own physical being. In the text that subsequently followed, there was always a clear distinction made between Hyperion and his sun. Hyperion was often associated with the characteristics of wisdom and light, and ultimately known as the god of watchfulness. Helios, on the other hand, was often seen as the physical incarnation of the sun. Hyperion is another titan that doesn't really feature much in Greek mythology, and during the war between the Titans and Olympians, he is hardly mentioned at all. We can only assume that he was amongst the Titans imprisoned by Zeus in Tartarus. There are those who believe that Hyperion, being a deity of the heavens, meant that he was able to observe far more than the other Titans and gods, and because of his diligent observation, he was the first to truly understand the movements of the sun and the moon, as well as the stars and the seasons. It's believed that it was Hyperion who ordered the cycles of the sun, the moon and the dawn, giving time and organised structure, and helping us create our own concept of the different times within a day, also allowing us to track the times of the month and the year. During the creation of man, it's believed that the Titans each bestowed man with one of their own qualities. Hyperion and his wife Theia, being deities of light and the sky, gave man the gift of sight. Although Hyperion doesn't play a huge role in the stories of Greek mythology, he was quite an important figure nonetheless, not only because he was one of the first forms of light when the world was created from chaos, but because his observations meant that he created the cycles of night and day. His children, the dawn, the sun and the moon, symbolising the different periods of the day itself. He also gave the ancient Greeks a way to measure the seasons with these different cycles during the year, something that would be extremely valued by farmers and anyone whose livelihood was dependent on the weather and the time of year. Hyperion gives us this figure of an ever-vigilant and observing watcher from above, the type of god that people who aren't familiar with mythology would associate the term god with. But I'd like to hear what you guys think. Were you familiar with the role Hyperion played in Greek mythology? Or when you think of gods associated with the sun and the skies, do you think of Apollo and Zeus instead? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I've been your host, Mythology and Fiction Explained.